Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim. Thank you so much for the support. Hope you all are doing great. So I came across videos that I thought I share with you people because there are something some people really need to see. Because white women are swing voters. Now, a sister explained this thing perfectly well, and I am also going to amplify her voice and add to what she said. It is not just only white women. Their men also are part of the problem because if you look around, if you look at how they voted, you definitely will understand what I am saying. All of them are all swing voters. Because tell me how I remember last year that everybody were talking about this, how this election, and some of them were like, oh my God, how can this man come out to become the president? Why is he even coming out at all? Right? And then Joe Biden withdrew. The story changed. Why did the story change from two men coming out and one is somebody that has ruled before and the other one is about to step down because his health is failing or something, right? And you guys said no, this one cannot even be the because he is a horrible person, he is not a good person, he is not fit into this. Immediately this person withdrew and another person came in. You all like swing voters, you all made another decision entirely. That is to tell you that it was not about, it was just racism. And now everybody is asking unity. How are we supposed to work this thing together and have a better result? The truth is that there is nothing you can do if everybody, Black people cannot do this alone. So there is need for everybody to agree to make changes. Let's get into this video.
So while we're thinking about this conversation about how disingenuous poor white people are and how they continue to cut off their nose to spite their face when it comes to their voting records, I want you to also think about something else from a feminist perspective. Black women and women of color, listen up, this is for us. In doing some research, I realized that there are some connections between American history and the timeline of women's rights in this country. I want you to think about the time during which the women's suffragist movement here in the United States became popular and achieved widespread popularity. That happened around the 1840s and the 1850s. Bear in mind, the women's suffragist movement in the US was spearheaded primarily by Caucasian white women, Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, right, are the most well-known figures of that movement, right? 1840s, 1850s, right? Coincidentally, the abolitionist movement to abolish slavery in the United States began picking up mainstream, widespread support around that same time, the 1840s and the 1850s, right? These are estimates. I'm generalizing here for the purposes of this hot take. So I just want you to walk with me, right? Nothing in American history happens by coincidence. It is not at all a coincidence that white feminists in the 1840s and 1850s looked around at the landscape and observed that if abolitionist movements were achieving widespread support and popularity, then that would mean enslaved Black women would no longer be enslaved and would thus be one step closer to achieving the same or similar status as white women who were never enslaved, right? Because enslavement was not just a physical thing, it was a tool of oppression, a generational tool of oppression. Anyone born to an enslaved person was automatically enslaved. Black women no longer being enslaved meant that they were free and meant that they would have power, control, and autonomy similar or akin to what Caucasian women had at the same time. Again, I'm generalizing here because I also understand that while Caucasian women were not enslaved, they also experienced oppression through the forms of various institutional and systemic means, right? They didn't have the right to vote, own property, divorce spouses, so on and so forth. And of course, this is a long time before abortion even entered the conversation. So again, I'm generalizing, but nonetheless, I don't think it's a coincidence. Especially when you factor in figures like Susan B. Anthony, who was on record as saying she would rather cut off her own arm before she ever advocated for the Negro vote. Let's not forget that. Let's bake that into this conversation. It is not at all coincidental that white feminists at the time began pushing for their right to vote along the same time that enslaved black women were going to achieve freedom and achieve support from mainstream white society and obtaining that freedom. That is not coincidence at all. And if you don't believe me, I want you to draw a parallel between that timeline and our timeline today, right? I want you to draw a parallel between that timeline and the data from the exit polls of the most recent US presidential election. It's my humble opinion in this country that the swing voters are actually white women. The swing voters are actually Caucasian women, not any other group of people, because let's be honest with ourselves. We know how white men are generally going to vote. We always know how black men and women are going to vote. People of color can be swing voters, but because they are still in the statistical minority here in the United States, the degree with which they swing doesn't have as large a bearing on the outcome of elections as black and white voters do, right? So then that leaves white women. White women are the real swing voters. And again, don't argue with me. Argue with the data from the exit polls. Argue with the statistics and the cold, hard numbers and facts. Look to the 2024 presidential election. Look to the 2020 presidential election. Look to the 2016 presidential election. We've been having these conversations for going on 10 years now. I personally thought when I saw that Nikki Haley was running against Trump to be the Republican presidential candidate, I thought she would have gotten it. I'm not going to lie. I actually genuinely, maybe foolishly believed that she would have cinched the nomination because I said, well, okay, white women aren't going to vote for Kamala because they're still racist. They wouldn't vote for Hillary because Hillary's a Democrat. But Nikki Haley's a Republican woman. She's right up there with them and the conservatives and stuff. Surely they'll, finally put to use all of their language about girl boss feminism bullshit, right? Wrong. I was wrong. I was so wrong. And I'll readily admit that. And yes, hindsight vision is always 20/20, but there's still something to be said about that. So I want us to think about that. And I want us as black women and women of color to never forget the different intersections that our identities live at. We're women, but because we're black, we don't receive support from mainstream white women who are still the statistical majority in terms of population and demographics, right? Sometimes we don't receive support from other women of color, right? We've had that conversation too. We're black, but because we're women, we're still kind of one rung beneath black men because America is not just a white supremacist system. America is a white patriarchal supremacist system, right? So I want us as black women and women of color to remember all of the intersectionalities that we live at. Shout out to Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw. Remember all of the intersectionalities we live at, all of the different identities we occupy. And I want people to remember and note that while black women are sometimes in conflict with our various marginalized identities, our voting record still stands. We always still side with the right side of history and with the right candidate who advocates for demarginalization for all people. Let that sit with you, that no matter how conflicted we are as black women and women of color with how we're marginalized on all fronts, nonetheless, our voting record still shines brightly compared to everybody fucking else. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
I am noticing more and more that the biggest issue amongst those of us who supposedly fight for the people, as opposed to the corporations and tax cuts and things like that, is this. Far too many of y'all are running around here talking and don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You think you know everything, and you don't. I'm going to tell you something. I've said this before, but it bears repeating because I want to make sure it's understood. I am 53 years old. I will be 54 at the end of this year. In 20 years, you will not hear me talk about politics or talk about political advice ever again. You won't. Because I will be 73 going on 74 fucking years old. My ideas will be antiquated. And it will be time for someone new, young, and dynamic to take whatever ideas I had, expand on them, make them better, and go forward. Some of y'all are not willing to let that go. You're just not. Some of you are hell-bent on having the last word, the only word, the word that everybody has to pay attention to. Some of y'all don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You out here buck ass in these streets, B, and you probably need to shut the fuck up. But I understand that's a hard thing for some of y'all to do. I get it. I get it. The right wing of our political discourse they are zombified. There is no such thing as a moderate Republican anymore. There is, I used to be a Republican, and MAGA. That's it. And what is MAGA made out of? A bunch of loudmouth, ignorant, unintelligent people who swear they know everything and don't mind being cruel to your motherfucking ass, no matter where the fuck on the spectrum you stand, because it's the fucking point. Think about this. Liz Cheney is not accepted in the Republican Party anymore. Adam Kinzinger is no longer accepted in the Republican Party. Rick Wilson, Steve Schmidt, and everybody at the Lincoln Project. These are all conservative Republicans. Limited government, strong on defense, laissez-faire capitalism ass motherfuckers. And they're not accepted in the party that they fucking belong to. Meanwhile, since the game has been rigged, it's red or blue, Democrat, Republican, left, right, whatever. The left side of the political aisle, our elected leaders, are chasing the dragon that the MAGA people are chasing. To them, the popularity brings money, and the money brings influence. So they got a whole bunch of fucking consultants telling these people a bunch of shit that sounds like what their MAGA folks are saying. And then there's everybody that the fucking left wing of this fucking political discourse is supposed to serve. And quite frankly, and I mean this with everything in me, some of y'all need to shut the fuck up because you don't know what you're talking about. You out here trying to lead and don't know how to lead. Out here trying to lead and don't know where the fuck to take anybody. But you talk way too fucking much. Here's a little secret. You cannot be the center of attention in a fight for all. Let me say that again. Sounded like a little bit of a puzzle, but it isn't. You cannot center yourself and your feelings and how everybody should react based on your feelings in a fight for everybody. If we're fighting for every fucking body, and if everybody decides to have that same fucking mentality of centering themselves, we're never going to get anywhere. Because if you don't do it the way I want to do it, I'm not following. Some of y'all have forgotten what history looks like. Y'all have forgotten that history is not written by the people with the best ideas. It's been written by motherfuckers with the loudest fucking voices. And that's what we're fighting for, kids. History. What we were, what we are, and what we can be. Right now, the Democratic Party is gearing up to shove Gavin Newsom down your motherfucking throat. This airbrushed, empty fucking suit is gearing up to run for president of the goddamn United States. Gavin Newsom represents the old guard of the Democratic Party. The old guard of thinking like the Republicans, except not saying the slurs out loud. What are you going to do about it? What the fuck are you going to do about it? You know you want better. You know he ain't it. You know. But you're going to let the party apparatus, which is peopled by motherfuckers who should understand that it's time to pass the fucking baton. But they're not going to. They're going to tell you that Gavin Newsom is good for America. And some of y'all out here doing this shit, talking too fucking much. If you only have one passion, if there's only one thing that drives you, maybe you should stay the fuck home. Maybe you should. You see, even at 53 fucking years old, I represent several different fucking avenues. Several different fucking things that matter to me. So when I fight for all of them at once, which means I am always welcome in different fucking fights. Because at the end of it, at the baseline, it's still about human rights to me. If you are only a one-issue voter, stay home. At this point, we can't teach you how to think of the collective. You're going to think individually, and you're in our fucking way. Maybe go move. If you see that the fight for women's rights represents all women, and you still over here fighting for one side of it, go home. We don't need you here. Shut the fuck up and get out of our face. Some of you cannot take direction well. It's not your fault. You were raised by people who couldn't fucking take direction well. Make no mistake about it, kids. We're in a war now. We're on a war footing. We're fighting for the soul of this country. Not the bald eagle, the flag, the defense contractors, and none of that other shit. We are fighting for the goddamn people. And they come from demographics some of you want to ignore because it's inconvenient. And if we're going to fight for the soul of this country, which is the people, then we got to see those demographics not as weaknesses, but as strengths. And we have to know when we are good at something and should lead it, and when we should shut the fuck up and listen. Some of y'all haven't even figured that out yet. Y'all think social media is a good replacement for actually getting your ass out there and getting punched in your fucking mouth. And it's not. The revolution will not be televised. So maybe you should look at your strengths and weaknesses before you enter any fight. Maybe you should look and see whether or not what you're fighting for coincides with the fight that other marginalized communities are having, and find solidarity. Sometimes solidarity means you come in and you give the strong rah-rah speech, and sometimes solidarity means shut your dumb ass up, sit the fuck down and be quiet because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. We're going to lose this war if we keep allowing those of you who don't know what the fuck you're talking about to talk. Because those people over there are on one accord. It's the worst accord known to mankind, but they are in lockstep with it. What are you going to do about it?
This is all I got from this video. And yeah, what are you going to do about it? Man, the whole thing is just exhausting. But yeah, we keep going because we keep talking till we get an answer. We get till things are better, right? The reality is that from the first person perspective and all that, then Bishop Farmers, how they have always been the ones swinging the votes and all that. And this is just like a norm. I really do hope that after this administration, I don't know how this administration will go because I am not a soothsayer, right? But however it went, I really do hope in the end that people are able to learn their lesson, that people are able to understand that sometimes you have to listen. But the problem is that the people we Black people have been working with, it's not like they've not been telling them, right? They need all this. But because of selfishness, self-centeredness, right? Because if you look around, if you look at what is happening at this point in time, you definitely will understand it's a man-made thing. Like people did this by themselves. It's not like there was a manipulation. Maybe there was also a manipulation, but you could see that majority of these people actually came out and voted for who they voted for. It's not like maybe somebody forced them and all that. And you can also see majority of them also saying, yes, I voted for this person. I never knew it was going to turn out like this. And I see some of them even looking for a way, asking, is there a way, just to tell you how selfish some people are. No matter how Black people try to walk people out of what is going on, trust me, there will still be people that will not want to come out. And also there will still be people that will ask, is there how you can make this burden? Like, because you can see that the whole thing that is going on at this point in time, it's a burden, right? To the country and everybody at large. They are going to ask you, is there how you can make this burden lesser for these people and make it really bad for other people? Because I have seen some of them come out, so many people lost their jobs, and Black people were also affected. It's not like it's only white people, right? Black people were affected. Excuse me. But it's something that they knew was somehow going to happen because they saw it coming. Some of them already prepared their mind, right? But some people actually are asking, is there how you can make people that voted for him have their job back and let the people that did not vote for him suffer the consequences? I remember bringing that video here. That some Trump supporters that lost their job are asking, can he put them back at work? People that voted for him because they voted for him, and then maybe other people that did not vote could face the consequences. So the truth is that no matter how hard you as a Black person come out to fight, you will continue to be in circle, right? Because tomorrow it will still happen, because they are not yet ready to learn. Not until everybody learn from this, for those that are willing to learn and understand that this is really a very teachable moment that we must learn and know how to navigate it. If not, there will not be any change. You will wake up tomorrow again to look for a way to implement change. You find out that other people are not working with you. Like they've been talking about unity and all that. How are two supposed to work if they do not agree together? Right? So there must be an agreement for everybody to work together. It's just like the way Black people were calling everybody, come, let's vote for this person because it's going to save us a lot of strength. Black people agreed that they are going to do it. Other people agreed, but they pulled out. So Black people did it, but they are not enough to make this change happen. It is a collective change. Everybody must come together and make it working. It's not a one man's business. So for all this to happen, for the unity, for looking forward to better days, for better things, better governance, and all that to happen, there must be agreement. Bye for now.